Hello, and welcome back to another episode of my Minecraft Skyblock adventures. We've already hit double digits with episode 10 on my last episode. So now I believe I've built out that bottom base here where I wanted it to go. I mean, there's still this little bit left to go, but I'm not really gonna bother with it. Not yet. What I really want to do is I'm gonna try to build out a platform far enough away out there so that monsters can spawn, and then I can begin working on a monster trap. Wish me luck. This is gonna take I've never done this before, so you can imagine my hesitation why I'm trying not to do this yet. Let's do 9 sticks. God damn, I hate odd number sticks. I hate it. Hate it. Sorry, I went a little crazy there. I changed the lighting effects because the other one was all the way up brightness. I changed it to moody. I don't know if that's gonna help at all. I figure that when it was all the way bright like that, it was probably causing some lag in the video. So I changed down the brightness. My voice just cracked. Awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much the plan for today's episode. Is gonna try to go out there and build a platform for the monsters to spawn. And then the fun starts, because then I'm gonna have to start dealing with monsters spawning. Oh lord. But the good thing is, that's where the grass block comes into play. The grass blocks here. That's why you need at least one. So then you can spread out the grass. And because only animals only spawn on grass blocks. So you need at least one grass block to save for the animals to spawn. So that's how you get like sheeps to spawn for the wool. You get cows and chickens spawning for food, and possibly cows with the leather for leather armor, which if you use leather armor, you probably don't have anything else to use for armor. Just gonna derp around for a little bit. I hate to get into another sports discussion, but fantasy football. Anybody have fantasy football teams going? Any leagues? I'm in a league right now for my fantasy football. The draft isn't for like another 7 days, so I'm still in the process of like weighing all my picks and trying to do like a draft strategy so I can like get the upper hand on the picks and everything like that. Because for me, everybody's picks, at least everybody that I know, their picks all center around the first 5 rounds. And in those first 5 rounds, you see all those big names, big players go. And I mean, obviously, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna get those high-ranked players, hopefully. Usually, I'm very unlucky with my draft position in the leagues. So I usually get like all the way at the end of the draft, so all the good players are taken by the time I have to pick. Like in the first round, everybody's picking like all the good people, and then I'm stuck with like picking the kickers because there's nobody else to pick from. But although sometimes some of the leagues I played in, they do the snake draft, where if you don't know what that is, it's whoever it goes 1 through whatever position you are when you're going to be drafting, and whoever's last in that round for drafting is then first in the next round. So if you're last in the first round, you basically get 2 picks in a row. So you get the last pick in the first round, then the first pick in the second round, and then it just goes in the reverse order of what the first round was. And then obviously the person who got the first pick then gets the last pick in the next round, but then they get the first pick in the round after that. That's probably the best way to have a draft, is the snake draft, because then that way nobody has a real upper hand. I mean, sure, if it's like a 12-person, if it's a 12-team league, and you're gonna be the number 12 draft, you're not gonna get the like number 1 ranked players in their position, but you can still get good players. Not gonna lie, I mean, there's more than just 11 good players that you can pick from. But it's kind of harder to have a draft strategy if you're that far down the line, if that makes sense. Like if you get the number 1 pick, you basically get free reign over all the players, and you can pick who you want. When you're further down the line, you don't get that luxury of being able to pick whoever, because by that time it comes down to you, probably about 2 or 3 of your guys that you wanted have been picked. But like I said, my draft strategy really is within those later rounds. Those sleeper picks that nobody really thinks are good, but could really be the difference between winning and losing just by like them getting like a few extra points than if you got like somebody else. Oh, why did I do that? So that's usually my draft strategy, is I draft in the later rounds. Like some people, they just go for the highest ranked player whenever their pick is. So like they'll draft like 2 quarterbacks in a row, then like 3 wide receivers, then 2 running backs, and then in the end they have like 1 tight end, probably no kicker or no defense if they substitute the kicker for the defense, or vice versa, defense with a kicker. But me, I like my tight ends. Tight ends are definitely an underdog in fantasy leagues, because no one really expects a tight end to be more than anything than just like blocking for the running backs or whatever. I guess I'll just make this 1 or 2. 3. Why the hell not? So yeah, I look into stats and everything like that for like the guys that aren't ranked the highest, just hoping that I can pick up one of those players that's gonna have that breakout year and everyone's going to hate me because I picked him up in the draft instead of him just going to free agency for half the season until he has his moment where he breaks out. And I'm not gonna lie, it is a good feeling when you draft somebody like that that's like a no-name guy or an older guy that nobody really expects him to have uh, too much playing time left, and then just out of nowhere they win you games because they get you the points you need. I remember first time ever playing fantasy football. It was in a league with my friends. It was the only league I ever paid to play in because I I'm not a betting person because I know when I bet I lose. So I try to save my money by not going into any bets. But it was just with friends, so I not saying that I don't I trust them or didn't trust them, but it was all in good fun. So I'm gonna need some torches. Bring some torches out there. It's gonna be in the middle. And these torches go out for 10 blocks. Let's see, 1, 2. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a little bit of a dark spot in between, but that's actually how I mine. Is when I play regular Minecraft, not just Skyblock, because you can't mine in Skyblock. You go every 10 blocks, and then you place another torch. So it goes torch, 10 blocks, torch. And that way, because I tunnel just straight ahead. Let's see, 1. Let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, lag. Oh, my lord, lag. Oh, Jesus. Oh my god. Why is it lagging so much? I hate lag. 1, 2, 3. Oh my god. It's so hard to count blocks when every block is the same thing. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have no idea if this is even 10 because there's so much lag. I can't even begin to describe you how much lag there really is. Oh my lord. Actually, there's a very easier way to do this. I put smooth lighting on just because it looks nicer, but I guess I'm gonna have to turn that off. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's the easiest way to figure it out is because the 10th block has no light on it. The 9th has very little light, but the 10th has no light. So that's the trick to tell how far you are from torches, or when to place the next torch, is every 10. But back to my story. My first ever fantasy league. It's where I got my team name, the Losers. Just because when you have a team called the Losers, you don't expect to win, and I didn't expect to win. Because the people I was playing against, they're like legit like fantasy league like pros. They know what they're doing. They know how to draft and everything like that. So when it came down to it, throughout the season, I was alright. I mean, I didn't do it all myself. I I'll be the first person to tell you that I didn't do it all myself. I had my brother helping me because he's just like those guys. He knew what he was doing and everything. And but not for nothing, the team I had was pretty good. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. It got me wins, and I ended up being the 5th seed. I ended up being the 5th seed in the league, and I actually won in the playoffs. It was amazing, and I ended up being in the championship game. I don't know how it happened. It was the 4th versus 5th seed in the championship game. And everybody was pissed because especially the first seed was undefeated. And it was just hilarious that it was the 4th and 5th seed in the championship game and all these other guys didn't make it. And I ended up winning. I ended up winning the championship game, and I gave I gave like 20, it was either 25 or $40 to my brother because he helped me out through the season. And I thanked him so much for that because had he not helped me, I probably would have been dead last with no wins. But fantasy is a different aspect on sports. Because like if you're a fan of the team like me, I'm a fan of the Packers, and lag again. I'm a fan of the Packers, so obviously I want my Packers to win and do good. But it's difficult when you're facing some you have a fantasy team and you're facing some guy that has like Aaron Rodgers or the Packers defense or something like that, and I was just sitting there. I was like, oh my lord, I actually have to root against the Packers so that I can win my matchup. And it's, like I said, it's a different situation. It's a whole different aspect on sports. Because then favorite teams don't come into play. I mean, sure, you try to go for your team's players and you want them to do the best, but that's not always gonna happen. I was able to get the Packers defense on my first on that first one with a run to the championship, and but take it from me, Packers defense, don't go for it. Don't go for the Packers defense. They're terrible. Oh my god, the Packers defense is so terrible. But yeah, fantasy definitely puts sports into like a whole new light for somebody, and it's pretty interesting. That it's not just like like before fantasy, I would just root for the Packers and root against every other team and be like that person where it's like, oh, my team's the best and all these other teams are terrible. I used to be like that, but then I started playing fantasy sports, fantasy teams, fantasy leagues, whatever you want to call them, and then you start cheering for these players on all these teams that then you're like 2 years ago, not even 2 years ago, like 2 months ago, I was bashing the Red Sox because I'm a Yankees fan. I mean, don't get me wrong, I will always bash the Red Sox, and I hate the Red Sox. I hate everything they stand for. But on my fantasy team for baseball, I have Adrian Gonzalez. He's their first baseman / outfielder for that. I don't understand how that works. If you're on first base, you're not going to be moving around. And if you're in the outfield, you're going to be moving around the most. I don't know. Doesn't make sense, but I'll take it. Definitely is easier to put a team around when it's first base and outfield. But whatever. So yeah. He's probably my best player, Adrian Gonzalez, because he's the only person on my team that in the season has got 1,000 points. All my other players have gotten like 300 points, and he's got me 1,000. And I guarantee he's the reason why I have my 4 wins. Fantasy baseball is different. I mean, you ask anybody in fantasy leagues, there's always that one person that always joins the league but never pays attention to the league and doesn't change their team or whatever. That was me until like 2 weeks ago when I remembered I had a fantasy team, and I was like, oh my god. And I had 2 wins. I was 2-15. Sorry, 2-14. And when I caught it, it was too late to win the week, to win the matchup I was in that week. And it was terrible. Because had I caught that earlier, I probably could have won that, and I would be 5-14 right now instead of 4-15. But oh well. There's only like 3 weeks left this week and 2 more weeks after that. So the best record I'm looking at is 7-15. Granted, that's not a good record at all, but for somebody like me, where I missed almost the entire season, it's better than being 0-22. So right now I'm trying to do damage control, and I'm just trying to win out these last 3 weeks. I'm already on a 2-win streak. So I'm 4-15 right now, and I'm hoping to win this week, which I'm facing off against another guy that's 4-15. So it's looking good. Looking good. I might give you some updates on some further future episodes about my fantasy teams. I mean, all that I have going for fantasy right now is just those 2 teams, the one in football that the draft hasn't gone on yet, and the baseball, which is almost over. I mean, if you want to hear anything else about them, I'd be glad to tell you about my teams, like what players I have on my baseball team. I mean, there's nothing really else to tell about my league. I mean, in my league, it's really funny how all the teams in the playoffs right now, like you can tell who was paying attention in the league and who wasn't, because in the playoffs right now, there's 6 teams in the playoffs. We have a 6-team playoff in our league, and it's funny because the 6 teams that are in playoffs all have double-digit wins, and every other team that's not in the playoffs, I think the best team that is not in the playoffs has 8 wins, and they're 8-11. I just beat them. That was my friend that I just beat. He was 8-10, and I was 3-15, and I beat him. And so he's now 8-11. I'm 4-15. But the next best team is 5-14, and then there's 2 teams at 4-15. There's one team I think that has three wins, and the other team has 2 wins. But all the other teams are like all the teams in the playoffs. It's just hilarious, just the difference in the league. Like I said, you can tell who was paying attention and who just stopped playing. Because the team that I'm facing up against, same thing happened with my team. A bunch of players on the DL not paying attention to your team, and you just lose. Because obviously, I mean, it would be amazing if it happened, but not everybody's going to stay healthy throughout the season. And you got to take that as it comes at you. So he has a bunch of players on the DL, like a bunch of his fielders are on the DL, and his pitchers, he has a couple on the DL. Like I said, I'm just in damage control right now. I'm trying to just get the best record I can, and hopefully I can bump up in the standings a little bit. Because right now I'm 10 of 12 in the league. I think we have 12. Yeah, we have 12. We have 12 players. I'm 10 of 12. The only reason I'm behind the other guy that I'm facing right now, that's 4 and 15, is because he beat me once early in the season. Like week 2, he beat me. So if I beat him, then I'm gonna be, I think, ninth in the standings. Uh, I think if I win out these last 3 weeks, 7 and 15, I have a chance at being, I think ninth, not ninth, maybe eighth overall. I think eighth overall out of 12 teams. I mean, that's again not the best. That means it's still 7 teams better than me, but going from 2 and 14 to being just ninth overall or eighth overall, it's it's something to shoot for. Like it's making the best of a bad situation. It's like a couple years ago in baseball, the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles have always been the team that just gets kicked around, and they're always in the basement of the league. Until recently, they got a new manager, Buck Showalter. When he took control of the team after that All-Star break a couple years ago, he took them and ran with it. I think they won like they were winning so many games that people were scared they were going to make a playoff push, and they were like 20 games back in the AL East. That's how amazing that season was. It was just amazing that they just started winning and winning, and that they were seriously. I mean, everybody knew they weren't going to make the playoffs because they basically had to win out all of their games in the second half to make it to the playoffs. But the scary thing was they almost did. I think they won like 75% of their games after the All-Star break that season. Like, it was just amazing what kind of a turnaround that had on them. And I kind of feel like the same way. Like, I was in the basement the entire season, and then I'm not gonna lie, I just forgot all about the league until my one friend with the football league, he invited me, and it was on Yahoo. It's a Yahoo league, and as you can tell, I don't go on Yahoo at all, ever. I go on AOL and ESPN. AOL doesn't have fantasy leagues. I just go on for mail. But ESPN is where I usually do my leagues. So, as you can tell, I forgot all about my league on Yahoo because I don't go on Yahoo. Oh, Lord. So, yeah. It's, not making the championship this year for my league would have been amazing because it's the first year I've ever done fantasy baseball. Fantasy baseball. I've done fantasy basketball before. It's pretty much the same thing as baseball, just a little bit different. Basketball is actually more complicated than baseball. I will say that fantasy wise. Baseball is kind of easy. You just set your lineup for the week, and you can pretty much just have it set for the week, and you don't really have to check it until next. And granted, the pitchers you kind of have to keep an eye on, see who, mainly for injury reasons, but also like when a pitcher with a pitching rotation, teams have 5 pitchers in their pitching rotation. So when you play a starting pitcher, you can pretty much just put him on the bench for 5 days until the next time he's going to be pitching again. So that opens up space. So you can have so many starting pitchers because you can just have them go. Because of the way pitching rotations are, you can just have them just keep alternating out. I mean, granted, you only have a few spots for pitchers. You only have In my league, you only have, I think it's 2 starting pitcher spots, 3 relief pitcher spots, and then 2 utilization pitcher spots. So, like, if you have an extra relief pitcher that you can't put in the regular relief pitcher spots, you just put them in that pitcher spot. If you have a starting pitcher that you can't put in the pitcher spot, starting pitcher spot, you can just put it right in the pitcher spot. So all in all, you get 7 pitcher slots, 2 starting pitchers, 3 relief, and 2 utilization spots that you can just throw whatever pitcher you want in there. And so my pitchers are actually doing pretty good. Not gonna lie, I had a couple that were on the DL. Now they're actually off the DL, so now I have all my pitchers healthy. And I could actually possibly win my last 3 games and be 7-15, which I'm hoping to do. But the way the games go in fantasy baseball, they go week by week instead of like day by day or whatever like that. So one game against an opponent in fantasy baseball goes for a week. So even if you do better than them in 1 day out of the week, they do better than you in 6 days out of the week, then you're probably not going to win that week. So I guess I'll end it there for now. I built that out actually pretty far. So I guess I'll end it there. Like I said, if you want me to update you on the fantasy situation, no problem. I can do that no matter what. So until next time, ta-ta for now.